Welcome to Writer's Block. I'm Rex. He's Lav. I'm in Austin. He is in Ponte Vedra Beach. Warm, happy. Are you? You have the Georgia shirt on, so I don't know how happy you are.
There's no cheering in the press box, although I was ready to cheer on this Writer's Block in this digital video.
And you didn't take the time to go upstairs in your own house. And
absolutely. I can literally go right there and change my shirt. And I was like, no thanks.
Okay, well, your Bulldog did not win. That was Kevin Kisner. I actually thought he had a pretty good chance too, but he ended up getting blown out in the finals by Scottie Scheffler, who has been on a heater really this year, but this season as well. And now you look back at what he's been able to accomplish. He now moves to world number one, but the part that gets me is the quality of victory. So of his 3 victories, which one impresses you more? His victory in Phoenix, Orlando, or Austin this week?
Well, this is, to me, the crazy thing, Rex. So first of all, this happened over a span of 42 days, and these are disparate venues, they're disparate atmospheres, they're disparate sorts of tests. You think about kind of juggling the circus that you have in Phoenix on a golf course where anyone can shoot a low number. You think about Bay Hill and the survival test there, and now you get to a kind of a quirky golf course, a Pete Dye design at Austin Country Club, where Scottie obviously has played more than 100 rounds during qualifying as part of the University of Texas golf team, so he had plenty of experience there. To me, this was, I think, the most impressive one, just because it's obviously an unorthodox format. It's something he's not used to the other 51 weeks of the year. The caliber of players that he needed to beat, sort of the stressful moments that he was able to navigate, and I think just kind of playing, competing, and then even winning with this title of world number one hanging over his head. We've seen Collin Morikawa really over the past 6 months have an opportunity to ascend to that top spot, even had a great opportunity in the Bahamas in kind of a silly season event, unable to do so. And Scottie Scheffler, Patrick Cantlay, same thing. Scottie Scheffler going head-to-head against the 64 best players in the world, able to get it done. Super impressive to me, Rex.
Super impressive. And since this is Writer's Block, I'll give you props on that one because that gives me an idea for a good column I can write. Because you're right. When you look at these 3 different victories, they were both distinct. They both had style. I mean, all 3 of them were distinct. They all had style points. I mean, I covered Bay Hill. That was such a hard weekend, such a difficult Sunday to deal with the conditions and everything else that was going on. You look at what he had to do in Phoenix. He had to beat Patrick Cantlay, the guy who was trying to get to world number one in a playoff, and that atmosphere. And we all know what Phoenix is like. And then you're right. I don't know that this is the most difficult test on the PGA Tour, but it's certainly the most grueling test on the PGA Tour. This is 7 rounds, and you have to be on your game every single day, and all it takes is one bad, not even round. If you have a bad 3, 4, 5 holes, you can get knocked out of this tournament pretty quickly. It just dawned on me as well that I'm actually in SEC country, and you're wearing that shirt, which makes it even funnier to me.
Yes, SEC country beginning in what, like 2 or 3 years? That doesn't even count yet.
Doesn't even count yet. Maybe the more So Scottie Scheffler moves to number one in the world. He overtakes Jon Rahm. You pointed out this has been a long time coming. There's been plenty of guys who had the opportunity to do this. I saw a stat, and it was Justin Ray on Twitter that had it, that in the span of 42 days, that's since Scottie Scheffler won for the first time on the PGA Tour in Phoenix just a few weeks ago, to him becoming world number one is 42 days. That's the fastest ever for someone who get their first victory and then gets to world number one. The second fastest is Tiger Woods, who we always compare people to because that's the litmus test, right? And it always seems wildly unfair. Tiger Woods did it in 252 days. Scottie Scheffler lapped him in that particular category, and that doesn't happen. So I have to put it into some sort of context, but the next question is, how long do you think he can stay there?
Well, this is also crazy too, Rex, because like the narrative surrounding Scottie Scheffler 43 days ago was, hey, when's this uber talented guy who has contended in a bunch of big tournaments finally going to get one? We saw him knock off Jon Rahm at the Ryder Cup. We've seen him top 10 in majors. WGC is obviously second in this event just a year ago. It was like, when's he finally going to break through? And then it just floodgates have opened. And now a question that we're receiving now on this Writer's Block is how long can he hang on to world number one? I have no idea. I'm going to be honest with you. I've covered Scottie Scheffler. I covered him in junior golf. I covered him in college golf, amateur golf, obviously, throughout his pro career. I wasn't sure that he'd ever get to this spot at world number one. And he's obviously on a pretty historic heater that we've seen over these past 6 or 7 weeks. Can he stay there for a long time? No idea. I didn't think he was going to get here to begin with. I thought he'd be a terrific PGA Tour player. I thought he'd have double-digit wins on the PGA Tour. I still think he can be a multi-major champion when all is said and done. But the top of the world ranking in particular is is so full of parity. I mean, would it surprise you at all, Rex, if Jon Rahm goes and rips off 3 wins in his next 42 days?
Yeah.
Same
Or
with Kyle
Cantlay.
Morikawa. Same with Victor Hovland. Same with Patrick Cantlay. None of those guys, it would surprise you. This is a terrific heater, taking nothing away from Scottie Scheffler. I hope he continues it because it's a great story. But I think anyone in that top 5 can also do it as well.
I feel bad a little bit because I came up with this question, and you're right. I don't think there's an answer. Scottie was 5th in the world to start this week. That means he had to leapfrog 4 other people. One of them could have held on to the top ranking, Jon Rahm, and 3 others could have done something special.
Jon Rahm has not won in 9 months. It's incredible that he's been able to hold on to the rankings since last July without winning. I mean, that's a testament to Jon Rahm's excellence, but it also kind of shows you we're in a kind of a period of flux, I would guess. I would say at the top of the ranking as well.
Okay, to move ahead wildly quickly to 2 weeks ahead, the Masters, get ready to go there. You're actually getting ready to pack up and head up to cover the ANWA. We're getting excited, but is Scottie the favorite?
Scottie the favorite. I mean, he's clearly the hottest player on the planet. I think that is indisputable. For favorite, I would still say Jon Rahm. He has a better record at Augusta National. He's finished T8, I believe, or better each of his last 4 appearances there. Scottie Scheffler, I mean, this is only going to be his 3rd career start at Augusta National. He's kind of gotten a little bit of a later start compared to some of those other younger stars on the PGA Tour. Finished around 18th and 19th in those 2 appearances. So I think course history is perhaps not on his side. But look, you have to put him among your top 3, obviously among your top 5, don't you? I still think, Rex, like you got to put. I think you got to put Rory in the top 3. And I would put Rahm as my number 1 guy.
I think so too. And then of course Dustin Johnson, who made it all the way to the Final Four here this week, and he's hitting it better than he has in a very long time. His putting seems to be an issue, and he probably needs to figure out that before he heads down Magnolia Lane. But you're right, I'd put him among the top 5. I'm not quite sure who I'm going to put him over because I'm with you. I think Rory is always going to be on that list, at least until he proves otherwise. You did mention Jordan Spieth and the Masters go together.
Jordan's sliding a little bit, Rex. I'd like to see something out of Spieth this week at the Texas Open before I'm going to put him among my top 3 or top 5. He's not played well over the past couple of months.
But I agree with you, but it's also Augusta. He changes gears a lot like Phil did throughout the course of his career, where once he gets there, he seems to find something, whether if it's his game or his putting or just something mentally to get him over the top. But yeah, I think Scottie's definitely going to be in that top 5. There's probably a learning curve that he's going to have to deal with. I think those 2 previous finishes were both top 20, which is impressive. Yeah. But there's still something he probably needs to figure out. All right, here we go. I mean,
he does everything well, though, Rex. Right? Like he hits it high. He's a good driver of the golf ball. He's got a great short game. I don't think there's any reason why we wouldn't expect him to play well. I guess I would say that.
And he putted great this week, so that's always kind of the key. You look at his iron play. It was windy. It was difficult here this week. If you can control your approach shots, if you putt well, that's a recipe for success at Augusta National. All right, we're going to look back one last time before we get out of here. What were your takeaways from this week at Austin Country Club?
For me, it was Bryson DeChambeau. I know I did not join you on Writer's Block on Tuesday night after a little stomach bug.
Hope you feel better.
Sent me to my bed for about 20 consecutive hours. But Bryson DeChambeau was the main story heading into this golf tournament. He ended up etching out only a half point over 3 days, was even mathematically eliminated on Thursday, which is kind of hard to do. He did not play well. I don't think that was all that surprising. I think the depths to which he struggled, Rex, was a little bit eye-opening to me and kind of showed me that he has virtually no chance to win the Masters. And now we're about a week and a half out from the start of the year's first major. Of the 64 players in the field, he was 63rd in strokes gained tee to green. So his ball striking was an absolute mess. And it kind of looked like he was dialing back his swing speed to kind of preserve his body right. But he seemed like he was stuck in between 2 swings. Like he wanted to go at it hard, and then he's like, oh no, I shouldn't do that. And just ended up flaring it way right. If he plays like he did at Austin Country Club at Augusta National, he's going to miss the cut by a lot. But at least I think it was an encouraging sign that he's still in the field this week at the Texas Open for what would be the second of 3 consecutive starts. That shows me at least that he didn't suffer any injury setback, which I think is important.
And I expected rust. I don't know what I expected from the swing, from the health-wise. You're right. I think he kind of got stuck in between swings a couple times. I don't want to call it a flinch, but certainly he said he wasn't doing anything close to 100%, and that's understandable, everything he's been through. I will say, and one of the most comical things I've ever seen on Friday after he lost his match, I've never seen a player come off the course and not break stride on his way to the car. I don't know how he ended up getting his clubs to him. I don't know how he packed up his stuff. He had one of his people with him, stride for stride to his car, and walked off the 18th green and never broke stride. Got in the courtesy car and was off property, really, before whoever beat him was doing their interviews. So it was pretty funny. I'm going to go a little bit.
This is such a tough week. If we're peeling back the curtain on Writer's Block on like how we do our job, this is a very difficult week to cover a golf tournament. If you're covering the winner, it's great. If you want to even get a small snippet from a PGA Tour player who just lost head-to-head against another PGA Tour player.
Not happening.
No chance. You're getting a bunch of Heismans.
You're getting a bunch of Heismans because I was shuffling through the parking lot as fast as I could. Almost hurt myself. Almost fell down a couple times. Just trying to shout a question in his direction, and he had no interest whatsoever. I'm going to go a little bit different way, and we touched on DJ, but DJ's play and Brooks's play, they ended up facing off to each other on Saturday, which in itself was entertaining. I enjoyed that sort of mano-a-mano matchup between two guys who, I don't know, let's call them frenemies. I don't know how far you're gonna take that, but Brooks played well. I think his ball striking seems to be coming around, as well as DJ, and we have had this conversation for a few weeks now. I think I wasn't going to punch the alarm bells for Brooks until we got to the major championships, and I did like what I saw from him this weekend.
I couldn't agree more, Rex. I think the arrow is pointed exactly where you want with the year's first major now just a week and a half away. Dustin Johnson has kind of been going through the motions over the past year. You kind of wonder how much the Saudi Golf League stuff was weighing in the back of his mind. Ended up shooting that final round 63 to tie the course record at TPC Sawgrass. Didn't play great at Valspar, and then he comes here, loses in the consolation match. And Brooks has kind of been inconsistent, right? Like he popped up in Phoenix like he typically does, and then he had a really bad week at the Players' Championship and some other so-so finishes as well. I would expect both of them. I'll certainly put them among my top 10 favorites for the Masters in the upcoming Monday Scramble.
All right, and I'm sure we will be talking plenty of Masters this week in the podcast, Golf Central podcast presented by Callaway Golf, as well as the Writer's Block on Wednesday when you will be home and I will be home. So we'll have something back to normal, right?
Absolutely, and we'll also have a new grill to talk about. My birthday's coming up, and I will be splurging on a new grill.
There you got it. If that's not a tease, I don't know what is. We'll see you on Wednesday.